Hello again in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. I'm grateful to all of you who follow me here and of this little community here on YouTube. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. My name is Nicholas and on my channel I talk about witchcraft, Wicca, paganism, self-love and all matter of philosophical and spiritual topics. So if you're interested in those types of things, you know what to do. Please subscribe, join the spiritual wisdom, join us here in this wise and spiritual tribe and click the bell icon to be notified each time I post a new video. Now today I'm going to be talking about a subject which is a little bit more maybe heavy, and I've got lots of different playlists on the channel. I'm talking about God's hectic crystals, but this is going to be in my philosophy playlist. And this subject may be triggering for some people or that, but we do live in a world full of problems. Though there are beauty in the world, we live in a world full of beauty. There's beauty in nature. If we look at nature, nature is beautiful in the sense you've got all the different plants, animals, and it's beautiful. But on the other hand, you've got deers are beautiful, but the lion eating the deer. The lion does it out of necessity to survive, but it's not a nice thing to see. But it's from a human perspective, it's cruel, it's nasty, but it's really, nature is both light and dark. And there's a light and dark to everything. But we live in a world full of problems. Some of the problems we have are man-made problems, but some of the problems we experience in life, we've got no control over. But to every problem in life, rather it's a man-made problem, problems in our own life, every problem there's a solution. There's a solution to every problem, and there's a way to fix every problem. But it takes work, it takes time to fix a problem. So when it comes to natural disasters, like if we look in history, like Pompeii, right? Pompeii is a natural disaster. It's horrible what happened to all the people, and most of the Pompeian people did die. Very few would have survived, but most of them did die. But in today, natural disasters still happen, and we've got no control over a natural disaster. The only way we can deal with that problem is by preparing for it, by getting people to safety or isolating people, getting people out of that place of danger or to a safe place is really how you would do with a natural disaster. And then there's man-made problems, and man-made problems have happened since the dawn of time. For example, wars. Even like if we look at the ancient Greeks and Romans, the Romans did admire the Greeks, and there were similarities between the Greeks and the Romans, but the two of these cultures were very different. And the Romans even went to war with the Greeks at one point. And there would have been several wars, but, in the end the two of them may have came to a peace treaty or some type of agreement. But the Romans fought many civilizations, and the Romans usually came on top and won. But throughout history, you can see that there's a lot of war, man-made war. And even today, like, a lot of people are concerned about it, and we can see there's a lot of war happening in the world. We can see Russia and Ukraine at war, and Russia started the war, with Putin starting this carry on. But at the end of the day, there's blood on both sides, there's hardship in both sides. But a lot of us, and then when we look at like Palestine, this big issue, Palestine, Gaza, Israel, this is again a man-made problem. Now, from my perspective, it doesn't really matter who started it. It doesn't. At the end of the day, there's blood on both hands. On both sides, there's blood, there's pain, there's suffering. And like most wars, in the past, there'd be wars and only one side would be the victor. But, and again, because people have not learned from the past, the problems repeat, the same mistakes, and disasters happen. And these are man-made problems, problems that people have created, leaders have created. But even in our own life, we can have problems that are man-made. We can have problems in our own life that we've created, because sometimes in life we can be our own worst enemy. And my intention here is to share light on more. There are problems in the world, and how we fix those problems is by using our voice, by speaking out, and sometimes doing acts of charity, like donating money to charity, or being part of organisations and charities that are trying to end these conflicts. So that is a way we can sort of fix that problem when it comes to because we live in a world when we see a lot of these problems, and if you're very emotional, you're a very empathetic person, you're very sympathetic, and you've got a good heart and you feel for other people, the world issues may very much concern you. And even though it's happening out of your sight, far away, just because it's out of sight doesn't mean it's out of mind. Because a lot of us are aware of the issues and problems in the world and the suffering they cause. And as many of us as witches, as spiritual people, as psychics, we can feel the energy of the world right now. And the collective energy is not good, because a lot of people, there's a lot of arguments, there's a lot of discord, there's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering in the world right now, and a lot of problems. And since the beginning of time, there's always been man-made problems. But to every problem, there are a solution. When it comes to world problems like wars and things like that, wars, though they're a man-made problem, when it comes to wars, people being in poverty and things like that, the ways we can help is being part of a charity, part of an organisation, and contributing to that, or donating whatever we can. But it's taking action, and sometimes our voice is the most powerful thing we can use, because speaking your truth, your voice, because if we look at the past, a lot of the problems in the world can be changed by our voice, by shedding a light on them and going, right, acknowledging the problem, shedding a light on it, and taking action on it. So for example, for thousands of years, it's been a very male-dominated society. And for thousands of years, men put women into boxes. Some societies were balanced, where women would have just as much rights as men, but for the most part, women were treated as second-class citizens and beings that society tried to fit into a box, which is never healthy, never productive. And women had to speak out about how they were treated unfairly, about the inequality in the world. But by them speaking their truth, expressing themselves, their voice, by protesting, by sharing their voice, like the suffragette movements, that changed the world for the better. It did. It changed the world for the better. So sometimes the key to fixing any problem in life, more often not, is to acknowledge there's a problem, to acknowledge it, shed a light on it, and to be aware that it's a problem and take action on it. For example, one problem that a lot of people may get into, as I've talked about, chains. We're born free in this life. When you're a baby, you're born free, but as you grow up, you can become accustomed to certain chains. The first chain is validation, where you want approval. You want people to approve of your behaviour, your actions. You want to be understood, and that's really where approval comes from. But what breaks us free from approval is doing what feels right in our heart and soul, listen to our intuition and let that be the master. Because if you live for approval, you're at the mercy of others, and because a lot of people may approve of your actions, but a lot of people won't. And approval becomes a chain. It's a chain we've created, because most people in society, they want you to, follow the status quo, and a lot that's expected of us, to follow the status quo, but nothing good comes from that. And people that changed the world did not follow the status quo. But also, it's not changing the world or making the world a better place or fixing the problems. It's not about being violent or aggressive. It's about shedding a light on the problems. It's about speaking your truth and taking action. And again, addiction is a man-made problem, because addiction starts out as a choice, but then it becomes something where it's like a chain on your body. But the good news is, once we know what those chains are, because there are many chains, fear is a chain as well. Now, I didn't mention that when I was talking about living your life in chain, but fear's a chain. Fear keeps you stuck. It stops you from moving forward. And though fear's there to protect us, it really does the opposite. It just keeps us stuck, because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Fear keeps you comfortable, And the key to fixing the world's problems is to speak your voice, to speak your truth. And also, there's problems in our own life, what we may experience: collective validation, caring what other people think. But the key for that is stop looking for validation. Do what feels right in your heart and soul. It's not that you shouldn't care what other people think, but you shouldn't care what people think of you. And you should do what feels right for you, For example, there's no right or wrong spiritual path, but let's say, for example, if you are a public witch, I'm a public witch, and there's other public witches out there. There's going to be people that support you, that understand you, that are on the same journey as you. But at the same time, you're going to get a lot of people who are going to give you a lot of, you could say, a lot of bad or a lot of stigma. They're going to give you a lot of negativity. They're going to throw a lot of dirt at you, because of who you are. So you may get a lot of evangelical Christians, or people who are that blindfolded, they think their path's the only path, the right path. They're going to say, they're going to pray for you, or they're going to say you're going to go to hell, or repent for you. So again, when you're out there being yourself, if you're saying you're a witch publicly, you're going to get good people that support you, but you're also going to get a lot. I'm not one for swearing, but you're going to get a lot of shit for saying you're a witch. You're going to get a lot of that as well. You're going to get a lot of dirt and a lot of stigma, because there's a lot of misconceptions that come with witchcraft. So there's that, but you shouldn't care what other people think of you, because you're going to get good opinions, bad. But what I mean by not caring what other people think is you don't let the opinions and thoughts of others stop you from being you and living your life. And that's how, because caring what other people think also becomes a chain. And, if we listen to the outside world, we live for the status quo, we let other people influence us. And though they can, but again, these chains, what we can get, what are psycho and emotional chains, they are problems what we have created, and as a society we go through. But with any problem in the world, and from, as I work with God's Hector a lot, she's told me that, because she's seen civilizations rise and fall, people not respecting each other's beliefs, boundaries, and people killing each other. And she said when she was known as, in the Roman culture, when she was known as, she was known as Trivia, in the Roman culture, she saw people at the Senate, the Roman senators, play games and mind games and be very toxic to each other, but also she saw them killing each other because they had different viewpoints, rather than respect each other's viewpoints and that. So again, there will always be problems in this world. There's problems right now, there's been problems in the past, but the key to fixing these problems is to shed a light on them, to acknowledge them, and we do that by shining a light, by acknowledging them, and then we look at, how can I fix that problem? How can I take action on it? What sort of steps or actions do I need to do? It's just like addiction. The first step is to admit you've got an addiction, to be aware of it, to acknowledge it, and no shame in that. And a lot of, be it AA, is one thing. There's also like therapy. There's that where, because what we deny suppresses. So by acknowledging our shadow, shedding a light in the shadow, acknowledging it, working with it, integrating it, that can help fix personal problems in our own life. And same with the world's problems. It's shedding a light in the problems, sometimes using your voice, getting involved with organisations that are trying to make a difference as well. But that, by and large, the key to fixing any problem is to shed a light on it, acknowledge there's a problem there, and then look at what sort of steps and actions can you take to fix that problem as well. And sometimes a lot of people may feel, I'm only one person, how can one person change the world or fix the world's problems? And the answer is, your voice is more powerful than what you think. We've all got a voice, and we should use it. One person that comes to mind who did experience a lot of inequality, and that would be Martha Luther King. So Martha Luther King being a member of the black community, because the black slavery lasted for 400 years, and then subrogation lasted quite a long time as well. But Martha Luther King saw the inequality, because you'd have white-only areas, black-only areas. The white-only areas were good and comfortable, but things that were reserved for black people were not good or luxurious or that. For example, you'd have a white-only water area for drinking water, and if you have a black-only water area, the white one would be good and decent, hygienic, and the black one not so much. However, he saw the inequality for that, and he protested. He used his voice, and he was a great member of his community. And he used his voice, also his influence, but he used his voice, his energy, and worked with his community, and he changed the world for the better. But he also died unfortunately, he did get shot and died for his beliefs. But so many of the world's problems, that is the key. Sometimes it's using your voice, and using your voice, talking about the world's problems, expressing yourself, and saying what you've got the right to do what you want. And sometimes you have to fight for that right, because women had to fight for the right to vote, the right to work. So they used their voice, because society, for many years, it was a male-dominated world. There's still work to be done for women. Women have came so far in the Western world, in the UK, but there's still work to be done here and beyond. And it's the same with the LGBT community. As I'm a member of the LGBT community, a good while ago in the UK, you could have been put in a mental asylum for your sexuality, or you could have been put in jail for your sexuality, because society didn't understand it and they didn't want to understand it. So the people who were part of the LGBT community used their voice. They protested, used their voice, and they did change the laws, the world here, but there's still work to be done beyond that. And again, that is, so many people have changed the world by shedding a light on the problem, the injustice, speaking about it, getting it into people's minds, their consciousness, taking action on it. And by and large, a lot of us, we focus on what is rather than what could be. And, because a lot of us go, and a lot of these people would change the world, they'd be, because when people are trying to change the world, we look at the injustice of women and the problems that women had in the UK. Some women just accepted the way it was. Out of fear, they accepted the way things are, and they could not see a world where women would get the right to vote, a world where women would get to work. They couldn't see that. But the women who were the suffragettes, they saw a world what could be, not the world the way it was, but the way it could be. The same with Martha Luther King. He saw a world where black people were respected, were treated as equals, not the way the world was, but the way it could be. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to go look at not the way our lives are, not the way it is right now, not the way the world is, but what type of world could it be? And also, that is by and large and God has taken us to work with her or not, we've got to acknowledge the darkness, work with it, and shed a light in the darkness and take action, use our voice, get part of organisations. And, sometimes if it's a you problem, it can be fixed. If it's a word problem, it can be fixed. It's just by shedding a light in the problem, acknowledging it's a problem, taking action on it, working on it, and and we all have the ability to manifest, because Martin Luther King did manifest the world he did manifest the world he wanted. We're black, he did, and I love his speech where he said he had a dream, and that dream did become reality. The women, the suffragettes, they also changed the world, by using their voice, and they didn't focus on the way the world was, but what it could be. And we all have that power. And it's the same with our life. A lot of us go, I'm not rich right now. You may go, I'm not rich right now. I'm struggling with money right now. I'm not abundant right now. But what manifestation and spirituality teaches us is we can fix these problems, and we can be rich. We can achieve our dreams and goals. So just like the brave people in the past who spoke up and said, we are not accepting the way the world is. This is the way the world is, but we've got a vision for the way we want the world to be. And, we can all change the world by using our voice, by shedding a light on the problems and getting involved in activist groups and rights. We can all change this world for and make it a better place than we found it, and make it even more beautiful as well. And to every problem, there are a solution, and there's an answer to every problem and a solution to every problem as well. And I hope this video helps, because there's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of things that are concerning people. And there's a lot of suffering in the world. There's always been suffering, there's always been problems. But just like there's been brave people who have used their voice and changed the world, each and every one of us have the power to change the world by using our voice, by shedding a light on the problems, and by doing something, by taking some form of action on the problem as well. And we all have the power. We are all the masters of our own life. So we have the power to change our problems, to change our life, and we also have the power to change the world and make it a better place. And that's what Martin Luther King done, and that's also what the suffragettes done, and many people who were part of the LGBT community who done activist work and still do. Those people who are part of the LGBT community in the past changed the world and took us, the LGBT people right now, who are of the future, thanks to those people, we are where we are now, and it's up to us to continue doing that good work. And all of us, we can fix the problems that are in the world, and also fix our own personal problems. It just takes time, hard work, and shedding a light on those problems, and using your voice in some cases as well. And more often than not, your voice has the power to change the world and help others. So I hope this video helps. I hope it brings you some guidance as well. Until next time, stay safe, stay wise. May part, meet again. Blessed be.